Hello and welcome to You with Jesus. Have you ever had an experience where you were casually talking with someone only to realize later who they actually were? Maybe someone said to you, you do realize who that was, right? Well, in today's episode, we're going to see how the disciples who had been hanging out with this man Jesus saw for the first time who he really was in all his glory. But before I read that, I thought I'd share with you a rather humorous anecdote. I was visiting my son on the far north coast and decided to go for a walk and take some photos. I wanted to go somewhere where there wasn't too many people, and I found this little coastal trail with no one on it. And after a while, I came across a couple of people surfing, and so I stopped for about half an hour and took photos of them. I then went somewhere else, and when I eventually got back to my car, I saw 3 surfers in the little car park. 2 were taking off their wetsuits and 1 was putting on his wetsuit. And I thought, I wonder if they are the same 2 guys I was taking photos of. I should offer them my pics. They probably don't have any decent photos of themselves, and if that was me, I'd like that. But then I realised that these 2 guys were talking with one of my surfing idols, a guy called Owen Wright. And I follow him on Instagram, got about 100,000 followers or something. So I thought, I don't want to go over there and introduce myself to the 2 guys because they'll think I just want to meet Owen Wright, and that would just be awkward. So I waited till they're finished talking, and eventually I went over and I say to one of the half-naked surfers, were you surfing back along the trail about half an hour ago? And he says, yeah, that was me and my brother. I said, well, I happened to get some great shots of you surfing, and I thought you might like them, put them up at the pool room or something. Oh, that'd be cool, he says. How do you want to get them to me? And then I think, and I say, I tell you what, why don't you follow me on Instagram, Ian Freestone, Ian Freestone. And then I'll just flick you the photos on your DMs for you and your brother. And then I turn to walk away. Okay, Ian Freestone, can you remember that? Oh, thanks so much. That's very kind of you. No worries. I hope you like them. And then I'll walk off. A little while later, I'm going for a swim, and as I'm walking through the car park, he's still there, and he gives me a little shucker, and I give him a little shucker. A couple of days go by, and I get a new follower on Instagram, which doesn't happen to me much, and I notice that the person has a blue tick next to their name. Oh, blue tick. Why so special, dude? I click on it. 58 million followers. What? Who is this? Chris Hemsworth.
Ooh.
Yes, none other than Australia's answer to Brad Pitt, and Australia's most successful Hollywood actor, and the most followed person on Instagram in the whole of the country. And here I am telling the guy, follow me, Ian Freestone, because I took a photo of you, and these opportunities don't come along every day, So that's my story on discovering someone's true identity. Pretty funny. But Peter, James and John have a story that tops that. And pretty soon their story is going to become our story because they got to see Jesus in all his glory.
He took Peter, John and James with him and went up onto a mountain to pray. As he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became as bright as a flash of lightning. 2 men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in glorious splendor. Talking with Jesus, they spoke about his departure, which he was about to bring to fulfillment at Jerusalem. Peter and his companions were very sleepy, but when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men standing with him. As the men were leaving Jesus, Peter said to him, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, 1 for you, 1 for Moses, and 1 for Elijah. He did not know what he was saying. While he was speaking, a cloud appeared and covered them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. A voice came from the cloud saying, This is my son, whom I have chosen. Listen to him. When the voice had spoken, they found that Jesus was alone. The disciples kept this to themselves and did not tell anyone at that time what they had seen.
Now, there had been an incident before this where God had placed his stamp of approval on Jesus. You might remember a dove came to settle on him at his baptism, and a voice came from heaven, "This is my son with whom I am well pleased." That was an extraordinary event. But it was external to Jesus, outside of him, confirming upon him who he was. But this was next level. This transfiguration, which means changing form or appearance, happened from the inside out. The appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became as a flash of lightning. Matthew, writing about this event, says his face shone like the sun. Jesus had performed miracles before this event, so the disciples had seen his power on display. They knew he was special. They'd seen the miracles. But this miracle was not something he did. Jesus is the miracle, full of glory. It reminds me of those times the glory of God broke into human existence in the Old Testament, like when Moses was up on the mountain receiving the Ten Commandments and he prays, "Lord, show me your glory." And the glory of God passes by. But it's so overwhelming that Moses has to be hid in the cleft of a rock. Or when the glory of God came into the tent of meeting, the tabernacle, and it was so overwhelming that the priests couldn't enter to perform their normal duties. In our natural state, we are unable to be in the presence of God's glory for very long at all. And along with Jesus, there's two men standing alongside talking with him. And we find out that it's Moses and Elijah. Moses represents the law of God. Elijah represents the prophets of God. Both the law and the prophets are fulfilled in Jesus. And the voice that comes from heaven, "This is my son, listen to him." Jesus is God's final word. And Peter, classic Peter, he's gone into shock and is thinking, okay, this is good. We've got Jesus, we've got Moses, Elijah, all in the same place. Let's put up 3 shelters and we can all hang out for a bit. Starstruck, perhaps. Meanwhile, we, the reader, are thinking, you idiot. And the voice comes from heaven, "This is my son, listen to him." There's many religious people and saints and prophets and gurus and influencers in our world. And above them all, God says, "This is my son, listen to him." There's so much content out there and endless voices that demand to have our attention. And above it all, a voice sounds from heaven, "This is my son, listen to him." There's so much going on inside our head, fears, anxieties, self-doubt, and above it all, the voice sounds, "This is my son, listen to him." Here on earth, we can sometimes have these glory moments where the curtain is pulled back for us to appreciate just enough the light and the presence of God, or the veil gets lifted at times and we see just for a moment how incredible Jesus is. Could happen in a worship time, or going for a walk in nature, or in times of prayer or the Word of God. But there will come a time when all those who believe will be in the presence of Jesus eternally, and we will be transformed in such a way that our physical properties will be able to cope with the light and glory of God. And it won't be glimpses of glory that we get. It will be the constancy, is that a word, of his presence in all its glorious fullness. And if that doesn't happen in the next few days, I'll see you in the next episode.